1, 2, 3, 4. We're headed for disaster, we gotta put it in reverse. Society is sick, we need a doctor or a nurse. And the people with the power, they're just wicked and perverse. Mesdames et messieurs, welcome to Cabaret Subverso.
This is Cabaret Subverso.
A taster menu of babble, jabber and assorted satire which will inevitably destroy the very foundations of the house of neoliberalism, bringing it down on the heads of all those who dwell inside.
And what are we going to be discussing today?
Well, we're going to be talking about space, and specifically private space companies.
I see. And who might that be?
Well, it might be, for example, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, who has a private space company called Blue Origin.
Blue Origin.
Yeah.
Is that a drug or a...
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like a 1970s LP by Jean-Michel Jarre. It's got that kind of feeling to it, Blue Origin.
Maybe they could get him to play during the space flight.
I've got printed in front of me the Wikipedia entry on Blue Origin, and it says the first crewed test flights are planned to take place in 2018. Well, yeah.
He's dragging his heels a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, well, it says the start of commercial service is due to start in 2020, so, you know.
Wow. Hang on, what is the plan there? What do they want to do?
Well,
what does he want to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, really, because it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit vague what they're planning to do. It just says things like they want to go into suborbital flight, that kind of thing.
Oh, right.
So I don't know how they're going to make money out of that. But
I thought he was the one who wanted to go to the moon.
Yeah, he probably does.
Wasn't it sort of to set up settlements on the moon and make it habitable?
Actually, this is amazing, right? So apparently when Jeff Bezos, who... actually, I just want to throw this in right now. Have you ever seen a photo of Jeff Bezos?
No, I haven't.
Oh, my gosh.
I probably have, but...
Yeah, he's really weird looking. He's a really odd looking guy. I mean, he's got no hair. That's not weird by itself, but he's kind of got a... He's got a kind of really odd face, like a cartoon character or something, like with kind of mad eyes and like, I don't know, he just doesn't look like a real person.
Maybe that's why he wants to go to the moon. He probably would feel quite at home there.
Yeah, but it says here that the 18-year-old Bezos said he wanted to build space hotels, amusement parks and colonies for 2 million or 3 million people who would be in orbit. That's what he wanted to do when he was 18. And apparently,
is that not kind of worrying that he hasn't changed his dreams at all?
Yeah. He says, but this is the weird bit. The whole idea is to preserve the Earth. The goal was to be able to evacuate humans and the planet would become a park.
Wow.
That's bold, isn't it?
That was when he was 18?
That was when he was 18.
All right, that's not now, kind of, thank goodness.
No, but I mean, it seems like he's still following that plan. I mean, but also...
What's quite nice about it, though, is that for all of the money that he's got, it's like his dreams are magnified. I'm just sort of thinking about myself, that if I was that, being kind of much, much poorer than him, that the expectations I've got of my life, it's like... So I'd really like to get a new car, but, I can only afford this really cheap thing that's falling apart. And it's like that's magnified really big. He wants to get millions of people living on the moon, and probably all of these dreams will fall apart. So it's like it's quite refreshing in a way.
Well, also, when I was 18, I think my dream was to be in a band. It was like that was the extent of my ambition. It wasn't to evacuate the planet and turn it into a theme park.
Did he come from rich?
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. But he made his money from Amazon, which is clearly this most amazing thing. But the thing I think that's quite amazing about this is apparently the thing that sort of sparked him off wanting to start this company was he watched a film called October Sky in 1999, and he discussed it with a science fiction author called Neil Stephenson. And so he started this company, Blue Origin, in Kent, Washington in 2000, right? And what's quite creepy about it, it says, since the founding, the company was very secretive about its plans and emerged from its self-imposed silence only after 2015. And it only even acknowledged its own existence in 2003. Now, okay, let's just put those pieces together. This is somebody who started a secret space company, which is absolutely hidden, right? And plans to evacuate the Earth and turn it into a park. Are you thinking James Bond?
Well, by your description, he's beginning to sound a bit like Blofeld, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. Has he got a white cat?
I think maybe actually it'd be quite funny if it was like a guinea pig or something, a white guiney pig. He can't even manage a cat. But also this Neil Stephenson is actually he's worked at the company as part of the company. This sci-fi author, like briefing the staff and things. And I kind of think, well, if you're going to employ a sci-fi author, I mean, why go for this Neil Stephenson? Why not go for one of the greats? Like, I don't know. I mean, well, because he's dead is the answer. But Philip K. Dick. Imagine the company that would come out of Philip K. Dick. Being the person who briefs the employees.
But he was just all paranoid and
it'd be amazing.
Everyone's against me. You're all fake.
Yeah, exactly. Life is an illusion, guys.
It sort of sounds a bit like Ron Hubbard, doesn't it?
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah. Maybe you have to have someone. He just made friends with him, and they've bonded over this idea. And
also the other thing that's quite interesting about it is, I mean, you would start talking about where he gets his money from. I found this quite interesting. So by July 2014, he'd invested over $500 million, Jeff Bezos, into Blue Origin. And if you think about it, it's quite interesting because it says as of April 2017, Bezos is selling approximately $1 billion in Amazon stock to privately finance it. And going back to the idea of, space used to be a shared thing that was paid for by taxpayers' money. There's a kind of weird thing going on there, isn't there? Because Amazon don't really pay tax. They just cut out the middleman and fund the thing themselves. But that's weird, isn't it?
I mean, I start sort of thinking, what is it that they want from this? I mean, obviously it's a dream that they've had, but it seems a big ego boost, doesn't it? So you've got I want to go into space, but what's driving him? What's making him want to achieve this dream and spend all of that money? 500 million?
Yeah, and then it said he was selling $1 billion worth of stock to each year, in fact, to privately finance this company.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously he's got that, he's not poor, so what sort of, that's a lot of money, though, to be pouring into into something that, he doesn't even seem like he's going to achieve it.
Yeah, maybe it's a huge thing of going, look, this is my way of influencing people and being attractive to women or whoever I want to be attracted to me, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just
but it's not
conjecturing.
But is he kind of succeeding there? It's like, I've wasted 500 million. And I haven't got anything into space yet.
He's not doing too bad. I mean, if you look at what they've actually achieved,
I'm just sort of thinking about it as a chat-up line.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen my Blue Origin, for example?
Yeah. I've got a space probe.
Yeah, there's that.
But I was just sort of thinking, I just imagined him trying to impress someone, and slowly it's sort of like falling apart under his description of
maybe what he says.
Have you achieved?
Maybe what he says is like, we're going to release a virus which will kill all humans on the planet.
This is sounding like Moonraker.
Yeah, exactly. But you could have a seat on my shuttle, and watch DVDs while the apocalypse happens below, and then we go and claim our planet. Maybe that's his game plan. I don't know.
So if we study Moonraker, we'll know. We can look for the signs.
I think so. Although it'd be interesting to know who's the Jaws in his operation.
We need a Jaws so that he can be turned at the last moment
That's
come over to the good side.
That's right. I believe I'm right. 'Cause Jaws was played by an actor called Richard Keel, who I don't know if this is true, but I once read that he was a born-again Christian.
Wow.
And used to make...
After Bond? Or...
Yeah, I think after Bond. And used to appear in like low-budget born-again Christian evangelical movies. Like
Still playing the Jaws character.
Well, no, playing, believe it or not, playing Bigfoot, right? Who menaces this small town in America until somebody introduces him to Jesus, and then he becomes like a, part of Jesus's flock, and a
What
member
Bigfoot does?
Yes, played by Richard Keel.
Oh my God, I've got to see that.
I hope it's true.
Yes,
I just really hope it's true, because it'd be disappointing if it wasn't. So yeah, I mean, it's Blue Origin. I mean, it's Jeff Bezos. It's a strange thing where we once sent Neil Armstrong to the moon. We now have a guy putting money from everything we order from Amazon into doing something weird and creepy to do with space.
So that's probably a reason why people should try to cut back on their Amazon spending.
Yeah,
because this guy obviously wants to kill us all.
Well, I think there is something quite interesting actually about, if you've got somebody who is like, what I think is really interesting about super rich people. You get people who are essentially quite benign, like Bill Gates, who's put an awful lot of money into, dealing with disease and poverty kind of thing. Whatever you think of the guy, I mean, that is true. This guy does everything he can, or his organization, to avoid paying tax. But what he does do is spend a ton of money on what could be a gigantic vanity project, like the sheer.
I think it is a vanity project. I think that there is. It does feel as if they're spending their money to kind of prove something and be shown to be these amazing people. I don't, because eventually you sort of think, well, what's the point of going into space?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you on that, because I love the idea of space travel.
I do as well, but
Okay.
at the same time, I do sort of think that it's kind of pointless when you've got so many people starving around the world. And like you said about Bill, if he was perhaps like a portion of the money, went to space travel, and then some of it went to kind of helping other people, but. Yeah, kind of.
I do take that point, but I just think that there's a human urge to explore, and I find it really sad that apparently, this is a fun fact. Apparently, because when I was a kid, genuinely, when I was a kid, I read a book about space that said that by 1980 we were going to be on Mars, right? Well, we've kind of missed that boat by 38 years now. And you might kind of go, well, that's fanciful. But actually, all the ideas were always to go to Mars after they'd gone to the moon. And what happened was that TV ratings dropped. So they stopped sending people to the moon, literally because they couldn't get people to watch it on TV anymore, no matter how much they played golf on the moon's surface or whatever.
And sort of let water go into the... Yeah, so it was like floating around like a ball.
Yeah, and drove buggies and things around across the moon. They couldn't do that. And apparently it was Richard Nixon. Another reason to hate Richard Nixon is that he went, space is really boring. Yeah, you could do your stupid space shuttle thing, but you're definitely not going to Mars.
Yeah.
And that's why they developed the space shuttle instead of kind of going, well, we're going to go further. But somebody who is actually into going into space is Donald Trump.
Yes, with his Space Force.
With the Space Force, which is, again, something a bit like a child's thing, isn't it? Space Force. Don't you think? It's like, I'm in Space Force and so's my mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. So what I've been thinking about is, so Donald Trump is currently 72 years old, right?
Is he really?
He is, yeah. And now, towards the end of her life, my mum had dementia and she ended up going into a home. And the home she went into included people of that age, who either through choice or just because they're, perhaps they've got something going on with their health, were in this home. And so there's in an alternative reality, Donald Trump might be in a care home.
I wonder what that would be like.
Donald Trump in the care home. You're right, Mr. Trump. You having your cup of tea, are you? Biscuits as well, that's nice, isn't it? Wish we got biscuits. Oh, and you've got your puzzle magazine and your pen, haven't you? Why aren't you doing your puzzles then? You're just sitting there thinking, aren't you? What are you thinking about?
Today's announcement sends a clear signal to the world that we are restoring America's proud legacy of leadership in space.
Oh, I see. There's been an announcement about space on the news, has there? You like space, don't you?
The human soul yearns for discovery. By unlocking the mysteries
Yes.
of the universe, we unlock truths within ourselves. That's true.
That's lovely.
Our journey into space will not only make us stronger and more prosperous,
Yes.
but will unite us behind grand ambitions and bring us
Yes.
all closer together. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Can you believe that space is going to do that?
I can, Mr. Trump. You're quite philosophical on the quiet, aren't you?
At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space?
Well, I'm not sure I completely follow what you're trying to say, but isn't that lovely that you're thinking so much about space?
Every launch into the skies is another step forward toward a future where our differences seem small.
Actually, now, to be serious for a moment, talking about settling your differences, Kathy was telling me that you have been having a go at Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Khan again. Now, I know it's difficult for you to understand, but in this day and age, it's not acceptable to swear at people just because they've got a slightly different skin colour from your own.
Why aren't we moving forward?
Well, there's only you who can make any progress on that, Mr. Trump. Just try and be a bit nicer to them. And while we're on the subject, we've had some complaints about you from some of the female residents. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to stop doing that.
They are truly into it.
But that's the trouble, Mr. Trump. They're really not.
I used to say, before doing what I did, I used to say, what happened?
Yes, I know you get confused and it's difficult for you. But, you know, all I'm saying is I'd appreciate it if you could just try and keep your hands to yourself. Will you do that for me? Anyway, what's this? You got the Monopoly board out, have you? Oh, you like that, don't you? You like playing Monopoly. Well, why aren't you having a game then? Couldn't you find anyone else to play with?
I will say that's not easy because everybody wants to be on this board. People that you wouldn't have believed loved what we're doing so much. They want to be some of the most successful people in the world want to be on this board.
Of course they do, Mr. Trump. Mr. Bannon will probably have a game with you once the nurse has finished looking at him. Now come on, while we're waiting for him, let's just quickly take you to the toilet. We don't want to have another accident like yesterday, do we? Donald Trump in the care home.
So we've talked about Jeff Bezos. Who else is going into space?
Well, do you know who else is going into space? Is Elon Musk.
Now what's Elon Musk famous for?
Well, Elon Musk is famous for example, trolling cave rescuers on Twitter and accusing them of being paedophiles. That's one thing he's interested in.
Yes, yeah. I was talking more. Where did he gain his wealth from?
Where did he get his money from? Well, PayPal is one of his big things. It has multiple companies, and I think what is very good about him in terms of him being a businessman is him being able to talk up his own importance and wealth. And therefore attracts, investors and that kind of thing. So yeah, he's this. I mean,
so what's his plan? What does he want to do with all of this money that he's probably? How much is he investing in this project, and what does he want to do with it?
I think before we get onto that, let's first of all talk the name of his company, because we've had Blue Origin. Elon Musk's company is called SpaceX.
That's a very... He must have taken a long time to come up with that.
It's such a shit name, isn't it?
That's kind of... I wonder whether or not they actually had a committee who discussed that, and they all wrote down sort of ideas and spent time, and then it's like, what are we going to go with? SpaceX? Yeah. I love SpaceX.
I remember reading
What
books.
the ones thrown out?
Yeah, exactly. What did they throw away if they came up with SpaceX? To be fair... Star Z. Stars with a Z at the end. But I remember when I was a kid, I always used to find it funny when they in books, children's books, where it would have made up product names because they didn't want to do product placement. So they'd have a kind of soap and it'd be called Sopo or something.
Yes,
And SpaceX has that feeling about it.
Oh, right. Now, I thought you were going to just sort of say putting space in front of anything.
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
suddenly makes it feel like you're in the future.
Yeah.
As if they would do that, like space money or space second.
Let's have our space breakfast.
Yeah. It's just normal breakfast, but we're in space.
And if you had a space heater, it'd be a space heater.
Oh, God.
That's like Batman, where everything's going to bat something.
Yeah.
The classic thing in the Batman movie,
Space.
bat shark repellent.
Yeah.
But so SpaceX is a space exploration company, and they're trying to go into space. I think they want to get kind of military contracts. But if you look at the history of the company, again, it's kind of weird because he started at about the same time as Blue Origin. It started. Apparently in 2001, he conceptualized Mars Oasis, a project to land a miniature experimental greenhouse and grow plants on Mars. He started building the company in 2002, and he worked with engineers and things. He's also done related things. So there's a subsidiary of SpaceX that's looking at drilling into the surface of Mars, and it's called the Boring Company.
The exciting company.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, to be fair, that's quite a witty name in the sense of it's taking the literal thing and making it sound in a sort of self-deprecating way, like it's boring. But there's something slightly arch about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a great gag.
So he wants to go to Mars, is that right?
Well, he does want to go to Mars, and this has been a story that's been in the news very recently. So this was the end of November 2018. He's considering moving to Mars, right? And he gives himself.
Has he got a removal company?
Well, I don't know. And he gives himself a 70% chance of doing so.
I'm just sort of thinking of, sorry, I was a removal company coming round. Sort of saying, well, you want to go where?
He goes, Mars.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bit far away, mate. It's going to cost you.
That's okay. I'm very rich.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry, what were you going to say?
But also, there's something about Elon Musk. I mean, even the name Elon Musk. Don't you think that's got a ring of a kind of James Bond villain about it?
Another
Again,
one.
don't you think, though? Elon Musk, it sounds like a made-up name.
It sounds a bit like a perfume, though.
It does, but also, because Musk is a sort of, it's more of a male fragrance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Musk.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is
perfume for men.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like if he was called something like Barry Gonad or something. Yeah. You know, it's got that kind of, I don't know, crowbarring masculinity into his very name.
It sounds a bit ferrety to me, though.
Yeah, have you seen this? That's his picture. Look.
Yeah.
If you're listening at home, you can Google image search his picture. He's vaguely handsome, I think, but in a way that's unsettling. You know. Like a Hollywood star that's just past his best, possibly.
Yeah, or had too many pies.
Too many pies, yeah. They've got all kinds of things going on with SpaceX. There's pages and pages in the Wikipedia, and to be honest, I didn't pick that much out about it. It's quite boring. The most interesting thing is the Elon Musk thing, the going to Mars thing. I think is very interesting because, like, you know, Mars is fascinating, isn't it? It's the planet, one of the closest planets to Earth. In theory, you know, people could walk on Mars. You know, I mean, one day. You know, it's not beyond human capability. I mean, it's cold, but you could put a suit on that would protect you from that.
Isn't there sort of something where, because of the ellipse of the planets, the way that they move around the sun, that there's a point where the Earth is very near. Well, I sort of say very near, but there's a point where it's the optimum time to go.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And it will take 9 months to reach that point. And if it moves out of that kind of pattern, suddenly it will take an awful lot longer to get back to the Earth. And so you're faced with a thing of getting there and then only having a couple of weeks to then get back. Or
staying for ages.
You have to sort of stay for a whole year or something.
I mean, I'm genuinely fascinated by space, and I remember reading something, strangely enough, in the Times Higher Education magazine, probably at least 12 years ago, where there was a scientist writing. It was an opinion piece, and he was writing about Mars. And at that point, Mars had kind of gotten off the agenda. You know, it was the economic crisis was just about to happen, and people just weren't thinking about space and things like that. But he said that he made this argument that we shouldn't be looking to come back from Mars. We should be looking to send people who to just stay because it's twice as easy to do, apparently.
But I mean, the thing with Earth is that because of the magnetic core and everything, that sends a shield that protects us from the sun's rays and radiation.
Yes.
Whereas Mars hasn't got that at all.
So there's the idea would be that you'd have to build a habitation unit
That was really thick with lead.
Well, no, the idea is that because there's a National Geographic Channel show with like a drama documentary about going to Mars, and what it reckons is that what they try and do is find basically a crater, a deep hole, so that it's like the habitation is built under the surface. So the surface provides the protection, but you've still got major challenges. You've got to breathe something, you've got to drink something, you've got to eat something, and also you've got.
But if they sort of sent something, weren't you saying earlier that he wanted to land a greenhouse there?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the ideas is that you'd send a bunch of stuff first, land that there, and then that's waiting for you when you arrive, and then you kind of, you go in and you sort of build it up.
So I mean. Is that part of his plan to send
so.
robots and?
I presume so. Yeah. But fun question. Did you used to watch Doctor Who when you were a kid?
Yes.
So do you remember the name of the famous Doctor Who monster that came from Mars?
No.
Ice Warriors.
Oh yes, of
Remember
course.
them?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that one of the things they reckon that will make living on Mars possible is there are
Ice Warriors.
Yeah, Ice Warriors.
Yeah,
Basically, they'll build you. Yeah, enslave them. They'll build you a city for you. No, I wasn't thinking of Ice Warriors specifically, although obviously that's a bonus if that happens. But ice. They reckon there are major deposits of ice on Mars, which can then be used for water, and then presumably they can make oxygen from that.
And from there, they don't they sort of say once they've got like water, then that will help in making further spacecrafts, not the making sort of ice spacecrafts.
Although if you had a chainsaw and you were one of those ice sculptors, then maybe.
No, but they that will kind of like help make fuel for sort of journeys out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they'd kind of make it from water. And
there's another weird thing about getting to Mars. I think there's a thing called the slingshot effect, where the idea is that you circle the Earth a number of times, and then it's like you flick off the edge of that orbit.
I think they did that in Star Trek Search for Spock or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's probably my favourite documentary.
I always marvel at the fact in Star Trek, it's like, oh, we need to go back in time, and then suddenly they just do it, and they find a way to do it, and you sort of think, well, if it's that easy, why aren't they doing it all the time?
Yeah.
Like,
if you could go back in time, Paul, where would you go back to?
Probably the dinosaurs.
Yeah, that'd be quite cool.
Yes.
My ones are really sad. I'd really like to go back and see like shows that I can't see because the people are all dead. Like I'd love to go and see.
Kidnap them, bring them back.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yes.
That's a much better idea.
Who would
than
you
mine.
kidnap from the past to bring back here?
That is a fantastic idea. I mean, I would love to meet Dan Leno, who was a great comedy star of the music hall. Because there's no live recordings of him. We had no idea what his relationship with the audience was like. Yeah. But mind you, I can't imagine how he would cope with a modern stand-up audience because he'd have no frame of reference. Yeah. He'd have heard of nothing.
He probably wouldn't want to. Once he'd been brought into the future, that would be, I'm not doing comedy ever again. This is just like...
He could probably just do lecture tours about the experience.
Yeah.
Although, interestingly, Dan Leno was, roughly speaking anyway, I mean, they shared a lot of time on Earth, let's put it that way. He was roughly a contemporary of H.G. Wells, who, of course, wrote The First Men in the Moon, which is an amazing sci-fi novel.
War of the Worlds?
War of the Worlds as well. Yes. And, of course, the invaders came from Mars.
Yes, yeah. I mean, is there a possibility that they've talked about with the ice that there could be...
Yeah, there was a thing about 20 years ago where they announced that they found fossilized microbial life forms or evidence of it. But I think if that were the case, it would be, if that was absolutely uncontested, that would be fact now, and it's not. So I don't know. Yeah, but there is some conjecture they might find traces of life. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you reckon there was life on Mars?
Don't know. It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, tell you what's fascinating about that is there's a theory that. Because, one of the problems with space is where the hell is everybody? I can't remember what it's called now. It's something like Fermi's paradox, right? If just the sheer number of objects out there that in theory there's this thing, believe it or not, it's called the Goldilocks zone, I think it's called.
Yeah, go on.
And it's, Goldilocks sort of tries the bear's porridge, and one's too hot, one's too cold, and one's just right. So the Goldilocks zone is a part of a star system where a planet within that area could sustain life because of the temperature, right? And there's lots and lots of planets out there that could have life. But if there is life, why haven't we traced any radio signals? And this is a genuine sort of paradox.
But you're sort of saying radio signals. I mean, it could be that there might just be a completely different kind of life form out there. I mean, you sort of think about all of the different variations of life that's existed here, and just because we kind of have made radios and like televisions and broadcast things as if that's how life should go. I mean, we might be this. Yeah, we've done amazing things, but there might be other kinds of life forms out there that could. That we can't comprehend.
It's true, but that is true. But scientists sort of think that there are certain sort of principles. Maybe there are certain principles to life, and that technology is likely to develop in a certain way. But then who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, for a long period of time here, there were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
For millions and millions of years.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of millions of years. So it's like we've come about in a tiny like they sort of say that if you looked at life on Earth as a clock, we're
the last tiny bit.
Yeah, we're not even a second kind of. So it's like, wow, that means that on other planets, the environment might be such that there might be everything could be insects. I mean, who's to sort of say if it was all like ants or something?
Yeah.
I mean, they're very intelligent. They sort of seem to have a certain kind of intelligence in a way,
like a kind of group intelligence.
Yeah. But why? So why would they be kind of ant radio or something? It's like
Tony Antburn.
Yeah.
but the thing about life on Mars is because there's a thing that how one of the questions is how unusual is the evolutionary process? Is life springing into being? That's the key thing, because it could be that it's very unlikely. Although I did hear one thing where a scientist sort of saying, well, maybe there's more than one evolution has caused the life that's on Earth. But anyway, the point is, if they find life on Mars, it could mean that life did start, or evidence of it, that was another evolution that started, which means that life it's easier than we perhaps thought for life to get started. On the other hand, it could be that like elements of life drifted on bodies from one place to another.
I've got absolutely no proof or reason to have this belief.
That's already a good lead in, by the way.
But I think that life is built into the fabric of the universe.
Yeah,
I think that these building blocks are floating around, and the conditions. If the conditions are right on a planet, I think within our own solar system there will be life. Like they sort of say, there's an ice planet.
Yeah. Moons and things.
Yeah, there's a moon. There's a moon where underneath they reckon that there's vents of. I think it's near. I can't remember if it's Saturn, but the pull, the gravitational pull, kind of keeps it sort of a friction on it, and they reckon that that's sort of creating heat within the centre that then comes up through vents. And there's a massive possibility that life will be growing around those volcanic vents, because that's where they reckon that life began here.
And maybe one day they'll be visited by Elon Musk.
Yes, yeah.
So I wonder how Donald Trump's getting on in that care home. Donald Trump in the care home. Evening, Mr. Trump. Oh, you're doing some art now, are you? With your felt pens. Let's have a look what you've been drawing then. Oh, a space picture.
Very importantly, I'm hereby directing
Yes.
the Department of Defense and Pentagon
Yes.
to immediately begin the process necessary
Yes.
to establish a Space Force
Yes.
as the sixth branch
Yes.
of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
That is a big statement, Mr. Trump. And it's a lovely big picture of the Space Force you've done, isn't it, with your pens? Look, you've drawn yourself there with a laser gun, having a fight with Darth Vader and a Klingon.
When it comes to defending America,
Yes.
it is not enough to merely have an American presence in space.
Yes.
We must have American dominance
Yes.
in space. So important.
Well, if you want to dominate space, that must be why you've drawn so many of your friends joining in the fight on your side. And you've really caught the likeness as well, haven't you? I mean, I could see Mr. Murdoch there. That's Mr. Johnson, isn't it? And that's Mr. Farage.
And, you know, I've always said that rich guys seem to like rockets.
Yes, you've drawn lots of rockets in the background, haven't you? And you've drawn yourself riding on the back of the Starship Enterprise, haven't you? Oh, you have got an imagination. It's a shame you haven't found anyone to play Monopoly with you all day, though, because you've been waiting, haven't you, since this morning?
So all of those rich guys that are dying for our real estate to launch their rockets, we won't charge you too much. Just go ahead. If you beat us to Mars, we'll be very happy, and you'll be even more famous.
Well, I'm not sure that's exactly how you play Monopoly, Mr. Trump. I think you might be getting a bit confused again. It doesn't normally have rockets in it. Anyway, come on, it's time to have your dinner. We're having hot dogs again tonight. You like those, don't you? Donald Trump in the care home.
Tell me about Virgin Galactic.
Well, now, Virgin Galactic, as the name would suggest, is Richard Branson's space project. And one of the things I think is funny about that, we've talked about the names of the other two. And in a way, Virgin Galactic doesn't seem to be anything funny about it. You know, it's Virgin, which is his brand name, and Galactic, which suggests space. But if you stop and think, it's a bit like, you know, the Beatles is a wordplay, you know, because it's the beat, as in beat of drums,
Yes.
and then and mixed with Beatles, the insect. But nobody ever thinks about that anymore because it's over familiar. But it's the same is also true of Virgin. Like, it's quite a rude name for a company. It's quite a cheeky name for a company. And once you take it back to its original meaning, Virgin Galactic sounds like a really cheap 70s porn movie, like a sci-fi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Funny enough, I was sort of thinking when you were saying about how people lost interest in space. I was sort of thinking that's what they should have gone. They should have done porn up there. So that will get people tuning in.
Because if water goes into a bubble, well, imagine what else might.
Other kind of sex fluids.
Sex fluids. That should have been the
In
name
space,
of his
yeah.
Virgin Sex Fluids should have
Yeah.
been the name of his company.
Well, he can still change it. So, what's Branson want to do?
Well,
then?
Branson, right? So
we've had someone who wants to go to Mars.
Yeah.
We've had someone who wants to go and live on the moon
Yeah. So
and kill everyone on the planet.
Yeah,
to do it.
turn the planet into a theme park. What Branson wants to do is take tourists into space. Very, very rich tourists. And he started his company, Virgin Galactic, in 2004. And the funny thing about Virgin Galactic is their consistent track record. So, for example,
Is it as bad as their railway?
yeah, it's about on a par. So Branson announced that they would see a maiden flight by the end of 2009. Then they lost a spaceship in 2014. In October,
How do you mean they lost it?
well, it blew up, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it did knock down the back of the sofa or something. In October 2017, he suggested that he could travel to space aboard a spaceship within 2 months. So how's that going? Because we're a year on from that already. And it goes on like that. I mean, it's amazing.
Why are they making such claims about stuff? Wasn't it Elon Musk? You were sort of saying that they thought, was it Elon Musk?
Yeah.
You sort of said that they thought they'd get it done by 2018.
Yeah.
Now he's sort of saying that. I mean, isn't there anyone telling them, look, Don't go out there and say that we're going to get it done in 2 months. There's no way we're going to get it done.
I think it's kind of hucksterism in a way, though, isn't it? It's like roll up, folks. You're never going to believe what I got in this tent. You see the woman with 3 legs. You see the man with 5 eyes. And, it's just a woman in there with like a false leg stuck to it.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing in a way.
A mannequin leg.
This is quite funny that one of the people involved in the Virgin Group, the Virgin Galactic, is a guy called Burt Rutan, right? And what's quite funny about that is Rutan was also a Doctor Who monster.
Explain what kind of monster.
Well, I don't remember much about them, but they were the arch enemies of the Sontarans, and I think they're probably shapeshifters. It would be really funny if, like, he also had colleagues.
I think that there was, wasn't that where he was in a lighthouse or something?
Yeah, the Horror of Fang Rock.
Yes.
Yeah. But I thought it'd be quite funny if you had colleagues called Bob Cyberman and Dave Dalek, alongside Burt Rutan. Because Burt as well is a really funny first name. But, this is
Sort
quite...
of under incognito, sort of like with a Dalek with a wig on or something.
a little false beard.
Pretending to be like a normal human.
Hello, Richard.
Do you want me to get you a cup of tea?
Yeah, exactly.
Sugar!
Sugar. Yeah. So anyway, Branson said he was in May 2013. Said they were going to do one in December on Christmas Day 2013, and he said maybe I'll dress up as Father Christmas. I mean, it's just how can anybody believe him still? It's amazing.
So I mean, is it with the bravado that you were saying about? Is it like so that and you sort of saying he's like a huckster or something? Is he believing it himself, or is he trying to pull the wool over people's eyes?
I think there's something quite interesting here that I think Burt Rutan actually was something to do with a company called Scaled Composites, right? Which they work with on something. So they announced this flight, the one that blew up, as being part of Virgin Galactic's vision. But once it had blown up...
The blowing it.
but once it blew up, they said Virgin Galactic's partner, Scale Composite, conducted a powered test flight of Spaceship Two today, and 2 of the Scale Composite pilots died during the accident. So when they're announcing it, they think it's going to be successful. It's Virgin Galactic. Once it's blown up, it's Scale Composites. Yeah.
But again, why is he sort of... why is he saying, yeah, we're going to get this done? Is it that people aren't telling him that this is an achievable thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe it's a thing that, if you're a thrusting guy. I mean, he started selling records mail order, didn't he? That was his start in business, I think.
Yes,
and then
yeah.
It was a big Mike Oldfield LP, Tubular Bells, that was the basis of his fortune. And I think if you've come from not massive wealth and become this absurdly wealthy guy, I guess you have a massive ego and possibly a sort of limited grasp on reality. Or maybe it's also part of being a salesman, like a really big salesman, that you just talk big the whole time.
But I sort of wonder whether or not it's like the Great Gatsby, where everyone around, they were all rich and they'd all lost their way. They hadn't anything to grasp hold of, and so they were just investing in things, dreams, other people's dreams, I suppose, in follies and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is quite interesting. It says here that the Wall Street Journal reported in 2014 that there has been, and I quote, a tension between Mr. Branson's upbeat projections and the persistent hurdles that challenge the company's hundreds of technical experts. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there's an element of either delusion or self-delusion there.
His plan, though, it's to get a space plane in a way, isn't it? That will get through the Earth's atmosphere into space for only a short period of time and then come back down.
Yeah.
But that seems like much more achievable than the others.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Actually, you know what's really interesting about that is that if you like we're coming up to the 50th anniversary of the moon landings, and I remember the 40th anniversary. It's something I've been obsessed with since I was a child. I've got a copy upstairs of I think it's the Observer magazine from 1969 when they landed on the moon. It's got like photos of their space rations that they took with them, and space cheese or whatever,
space peas,
space quinoa, but
sort of really kind of middle class. Space
Waitrose space range.
Yeah.
but the point is, I've been interested in it for a long time, right? And the thing is that I think Kennedy announced that they were going to go to the moon. I mean, he died in 63, so it must have been like 61, 62, something like that. And by the end of the decade, they'd done it. And they did it with the computing power that's less than that of a modern automatic washing machine. Like, it's extraordinary they did that.
Yeah, now you've got like mini computers in your hand that can do an amazing stuff. So why can't they take that technology and...
Well, it also makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because, private enterprise, I mean, the part of neoliberal kind of ideology is that private enterprise is better than public every time, right? But if that's the case, how could a government have got to the moon in like 7 or 8 years? And Richard Branson's been doing this since 2004, and he hasn't.
There's a simple answer to that.
Yeah, well, what is that?
It's all a lie.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Also, I don't know if did I tell you I've done a song about this.
Have you?
I have. Yeah.
Could we hear it?
I think we could. This is a song inspired by these great pioneers of private space travel, and it's called. Do you want to know what it's called?
Yes, please.
Space Dicks.
Houston, we have a problem.
Richard Branson's got a beard on his face. Now the cunt is going into space. Judging by his record, it won't be a hit. 'Cause if it's anything like his trains, it's gonna be shit. Who's a space dick? Who's a space dick? Who's a space dick? Elon Musk is worth 21 billion. He reminds everybody of a James Bond villain. When he flies up in his rocket, it'll end in defeat. 'Cause in space, no one can hear you tweet. Who's a space dick? Who's a space dick? He's a space dick.
These are the voyages of the Starship Private Enterprise. It's a 5-year mission to boldly go where no businessman has gone before.
They wanna be privatised Captain Kirks, but they're just egotistical Berks. They wanna buy the final frontier, but they can stick their enterprise right up their rear. Jeff Bezos has galactic plans. He's a man whose head looks a bit like a gland's. To get him back for Amazon's working conditions, we should sabotage that greedy motherfucker space missions. Who's a space dick? Who's a space dick? Who's a space dick? They're all cosmic cocks. They're all planetary bricks. They wanna visit Uranus. They're all space dicks. They're all space dicks. They're all space dicks. They're all space dicks.
That was Cabaret Subverso with Oliver Double and myself, Paul Elliott.
Join us next month when we'll be talking about lying. If you enjoyed this podcast, give us a review on iTunes, 5 stars preferred. And if you didn't like it, keep it to yourself. We're headed for disaster. everybody's sick. We need a doctor or a nurse. And the people with the power, they're just wicked and perverse. Mesdames et messieurs, welcome to Cabaret Subverso. We're living in a horror, like the victims of a curse. We're hoping for better, it just keeps on getting worse. And the people at the bottom, they've got nothing in their purse. Meine Damen und Herren, welcome to Cabaret Subverso.